I could watch a movie to not think about life, or I can have a drink of vodka and sleep all night. I'm bored, you all. I'm bored. Look at that. Look at my curtains. They look hideous. They're not even, and it's driving me crazy. And my cat's been in her box. She's got anywhere she wants to sleep. Anywhere, including the bed. But no, she wants to be in her box. Well, maybe if I had a box, I'd be in there too. I don't know. This is still here. I'm making lunch dinner. I'm gonna have some leftovers, but I'm also gonna have some fish. I was craving fish. Yesterday I made, yeah, I had to go all the way down to pick that up. I made that French onion dip casserole that I made not the other day, but a week ago or two. I was craving that yesterday, so. And then I'm making green beans with some ham because I wanted my veggies. But I'm bored. I've been staying in, well, I swept and mopped the floor, which is why the floor looks so nice and shiny. Oh, I got my tea. Let me get my little stand. More mess. My son got Chaloskis, and I said, I just want the drink. I don't want anything else but the drink. I started to feel kind of down again. Oh, look. I put my silverware that I bought yesterday right here. I need to wash the utensils before I put them away. There goes the dryer. It's finally done with the laundry. That's my last load. I sound like I'm out of breath, but I'm not. It's my breathing. Remember what I told you all the other day? That's my breathing. Ay. I wonder how the other side of the world is doing. Like, what are you all doing? Wherever you all are from. How's the weather over there? It's been cloudy over here. It rained last night. Yeah, I guess that's sweet enough. It rained last night. And early this morning, I couldn't sleep very well last night. Ooh, I forgot to put the timer on. Hold on, y'all. I don't know if it's 25 or 20 minutes. Let's see. It is 22 minutes. So I'll put it for 25. I always go a little bit over on purpose. So that it won't be undercooked or overcooked. So if it's 22 minutes and I put it for 25, it's okay. That was a cherry roll. Don't get excited. Yeah, so I started to feel down. And I was like, what do I do? I thought about going to Hobby Lobby, but I really can't spend that much anymore since we got a new purchase. So I need to watch my spending. So I'm like, okay, I guess I will stay in. And it's hard to believe that it's already been a week since my husband got the truck that we were in San Antonio. And it's a good thing the weather wasn't like this last week, because it would have been really like wet, and there would have been puddles everywhere. Probably would have been a little bit flooded as well, and that's not fun. I'm watching Monster-in-Law, in case y'all are curious. I really don't know what to watch. There's nothing good, and then I thought, oh, well, I'll just watch something on Tubi. The dryer keeps calling me. It's like not gonna stop beeping until I get up and go get the clothes out. But I'm the ruler here. Sure. This is gonna be my Saturdays for the next 2 years until we can refinance the vehicle. I know. And my husband's like, 2 Saturdays. Well, yeah, they will go by fast, but 2 years will go by fast. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Lots of stuff going on everywhere else, though, except for YouTube. I'm surprised. Last night I was watching a creator. He was on like 3 hours. I'm just talking about, honestly, I really can't even tell you what he was talking about. Something to do with women. He's always bashing women for something. And I mean, I agreed with him to a certain extent, you know, but not really, because some of these women, yeah, they're like evil. You know, they talk about men and how they like to use men for money. Even though they have their own money, but they like to use the men for money. Or rather, okay, that's a different type of woman. The women he's talking about is the ones that won't go out with a man unless he has money, because she wants her bills paid and all that. I agree with him about that. That's, you know, get your own money, get a job and get your own money. But with the other women that have money, they don't want a man that has no money. They want another man that has the money so that he can spend his money on himself, and she can continue to live a lavish lifestyle, which makes sense to me too. I have never, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, and I'm trying to concentrate while I look for something to watch, and there's nothing to watch. Let me just stop already with the remote. I have never, until recently, seen any man refuse to work and want a woman with money. He wants to be kept. And that's really like freaky to me, because even if I have money, I wouldn't want a man that wants to be kept. Now, mind you, I did go through a stage at one time where I was with a boyfriend that he only worked very little hours, and every time I would come home from work, he was already there. And he would make dinner, you know, for me and the kids. And I kind of liked that, because it kind of gave me, and here I'm going to admit this, it kind of gave me a point of control in the relationship, where I knew that this guy wasn't going to be out catting around, right? He will be at home waiting for me and the kids. However, that was my thinking. But, and I'm talking about the one that got deported. When he got deported, I later found out from his BFF, his friend, that actually they were both going somewhere else on Thursdays to go meet women. Not necessarily to mess around with, but to dance with and drink. I was like, oh, really? Okay. When I found that out, and I was like, where are my drinks? Well, how come I don't get to go to this place, you know?
I was pissed. I was pissed afterwards. And of course I couldn't tell him because he was deported. He couldn't call me right away. The day that he finally got to call me, I was like, yeah, I know what you were up to already. Let me see if I can lift you all up a little bit so you don't have to look at that number 9. Well, you're still gonna see it. All right. So by that point, I was already over it. I was over him, and I asked him not to call me anymore. I was just kind of like, okay, well, go do you now. You know, that's what you wanted to do when you were here and you were living with me. So go do you now. Now you're free. You're free in your own country, and you can do whatever you want. And then, don't you all hate that commercial where they're like spraying themselves on their stomach and in their private area? Like, come on now. Like, why do they have to make women look so dirty? However, I will say, change the subject, I will say that some women are dirtier than men. Because when I used to work at the dealership, the woman's bathroom was filthy, filthier than the guys. And I know that for a fact because I cleaned those bathrooms myself at one time. Whenever the cleaning lady would be out on vacation, they wouldn't hire anybody to take her place. And we're like, what? Like, we're gonna have a dirty dealership for a week? Like, that's, I don't know, for some reason the comptroller, office manager, wouldn't hire anybody, a temp, to come in and clean. So I told them, you know what, I'll go ahead and do the bathrooms. So I went ahead and would do the bathrooms, and I did it on purpose because I wanted extra hours. I would get out at 3 o'clock, and I said, well, if I take like till 4 o'clock to do the bathrooms, that's an extra hour, an extra pay for me, you know, and it would add up at the end of the week. And so I would go ahead and do that. Of course, I would use gloves and everything that she had there that the cleaning lady would provide, you know. And the women's bathroom was hideous because some women, and this they teach you when you're in elementary school, and get ready, TMI, some women do not wrap up their pads. And they just dump them in the trash, just like that. You know, it's like they remove them from their underwear and then just boop, throw them in the trash. And all exposed. And let me tell you, who wants to go to the bathroom and see that? Nobody, absolutely nobody. And other ones would, oh my God, the worst ones were the tampons. Ladies, if you are using tampons, you still need to wrap them. Or put them in the new little plastic thing that they come in. If you're gonna replace it, put them in the new little plastic thing while you wear the new one, you know, and then throw it. It's better though if you wrap it. Just wrap them. It doesn't take much time to take them out, wrap it up, and then throw it. I hated to see those things exposed in the trash can. It was nasty, it was gross, it made me want to throw up. And then I had to change the bags every day for that week because of that, rather than just trying to save bags by just dumping everything in one bag. But we couldn't, there was no way around it. Let me tell you the worst part. The worst part was when, as a receptionist, when I had to go to the bathroom to go pee, there would be a customer already in a stall next to me. She would be on her phone while going number 2. Gross. Anyway, yes, I know we all go, but on the phone? And so, that was my stomach growling, by the way, we all heard that. Yeah, I would be there peeing. That customer would be like, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and drip, or plop rather, plop, plop. And I pee next to her, and I'm like grossing out. I'm like, ugh, ugh, you know, because I'm like my cat, because I'm like, this is so nasty. And the next thing I know, she would grab some toilet paper, barely wipe her behind, and she was already out the stall. Of course, she would flush, right? Still on the phone, and then barely get any soap and water on her hands and leave. That was disgusting. And then there were other times that I would be in there where somebody would just actually go in and pee, not even wipe, and just walk out the door. Like they would just flush the toilet. At least they were courteous in that sense. And then they would just walk out the door. And I'm like, in your hands? You're not going to wash your hands? And then I would hear the salesman, they'd be like, oh man, that girl is hot. Did you check her out? Did you check her out? Yeah, dude, she's hot, man. She's hot. And they would ask me, don't you think she's hot? And I'm like, if you really want to know the truth, your girl there went to the bathroom. I was right next to her, and she didn't even bother to wash her hands. Yeah, that's hot. That's nasty. I hope you didn't shake her hand. And then they would just be like with their mouths open, like, what? Like they didn't really want to believe me, but I was telling them the truth. And side note, that happened at Denny's also. I was with my husband and we were eating, and there was this couple. It was a white girl and a Mexican guy. And they were just, you know, talking and laughing and everything. And then I got up to go pee, you know. I had to go pee. I always have to go pee. Well, I see her in there. And she goes to pee. Thank God it was just pee. And then she walked right out. Didn't bother to wash her hands or anything. Well, then I got out of my stall, because I take my time to wipe. You know, I want to make sure that I'm dry. I don't like drip, drip, drip. And after that, I flush. I go wash my hands 2 times. You would think I was going to perform surgery, because I'm the type that washes my hands, washes in between your fingers, you know, and then scrubs the palm, you know, like you're supposed to. And you would think, you know, okay, Moon's going to perform surgery right now. But, or surgery, if you're from New Jersey. And I would go back, I went out there back to my husband at the table, and I would see this girl holding her boyfriend's hand. And I'd be like, oh my God, you know, and I would tell my husband about it. And he was like, what? And I would tell him, and he's like, oh, that's nasty. And I go, exactly, but why do girls do that? Why do girls not wash their hands? How can you go to the bathroom and not wash your hands? Hang on, y'all, let me check. I hear my green beans. I might have to put some more water. Yeah, I need to put more water. I really want that. I really want that bacon cooked. Or boiled, rather. My dish is coming along. Yay. I'm just stirring my green beans. So anyhow, like I was saying, like, how can you go to the bathroom as a woman and not wash your hands? I've seen men wash their hands, not that I'm in the bathroom with them, but they always come out with their hands wet. I just can't believe women could be so dirty. I would think we were the ones that would be cleaner than a man. I don't get it. So, I already forgot what I was talking about. My mind goes everywhere. That was one thing about the dealership, though. that really sucked. And oh yeah, I remember now what I was gonna say. That I even had to put up a sign. I made a sign and I would put, please wash your hands before leaving the bathroom. Well, these people, I think they thought it was for employees only. I'm like, no, it's for you customers because you all can't seem to wash your hands. But it didn't work. Somebody would go and tear it off. And I believe it was somebody from service. Service, I don't know why they had an issue with me all the time. But they would go and rip it off. I would go make another one, put one back up, and they would go rip it off. And then when the maintenance lady would come back, she would be like, can you make a sign for them to please not flush their tampons and stuff? And I go, are you sure you want me to do that? Because somebody keeps tearing my signs up. And she's like, what? And I go, yeah. Like, they won't wash their damn hands, and let alone, like, put their personals in the trash wrapped. Well, I would go ahead and do it for her anyway. But those signs, they really didn't tear up because I guess they were tired of seeing that mess also. But the one about washing their hands, they would tear it up. Well, shortly after I quit, I thought about that and I was like, I wonder if they have signs everywhere now to make sure you wash your hands and wear a mask. Like, duh, like, I did it for a reason. It wasn't to annoy anybody, but it was to keep anything from becoming something, like any bacteria or, you know, something like what happened in 2020, you know? Like, that's why I would do things like that. And I would also clean my phone with sanitizer after every, like, not after every use from me, but like if I were to get up from my desk and went to the bathroom, I would come back and I would wipe the phone because somebody would be sitting there answering the phone for me. And not that I thought they were dirty, but it made me feel better, you know? And I don't have that disorder. What is it? Compulsive disorder, or what is it called? I can't think right now. But I don't have that disorder. I just use wisdom, if anything, you know? But yeah, like, it was weird. I would clean my own area too. I hated my area to be dirty. Every morning that I would get to work, I would throw out my own trash, clean my desk up, sanitize everything, and then I could start my job because I couldn't do it otherwise. And I would always have a big bottle of sanitizer at my desk and hand cream because, you know, it dries out your hands really bad after a while. I had really good habits for like 10 years, and then now I just wash my hands and I forget to put cream on, and I think that's why my hands are all wrinkly now. They look older than I am, but at least I wear gloves when I clean though. I still wear gloves when I clean. I need to wash this. I forgot that I had to wash this table. I already have it all dirty. I have this dirty. So, but 4 more minutes for my fish to come out. Those were some of the things that I would do at the dealership, and I would hope they appreciate what I would do, you know, because nobody else would do it. None of the other receptionists that came in to work in the afternoon ever did that. They felt like they were above that, and they weren't about to throw their trash or clean up in the front, and let alone want to make popcorn for the customers, you know. I hated being there on Saturday, speaking of popcorn, because these people thought they were at a movie theater. Like, they wanted popcorn like every 30 minutes. And I'm like, my job is not just making popcorn. I'm not a concession stand, you know? But, oh, I hated working Saturdays also because it would be the longest day for me. Like right now, I don't even know what time it is because of the, I'm going to assume it's a little after 4. Oh, well, I can check on the TV. Hold on. But I would be there from 8:30 to 6. I think it is 4 o'clock. I don't know. The TV's not telling me what time it is either. It's just telling me what's on. I would be there from 8:30 in the morning till 6. No lunch break. They would not give me a lunch break. They had lunch breaks, but they wouldn't give me one. And I remember the office manager, Patty, she would call me on Mondays and be like, you didn't clock out for lunch on Saturday? And I said, no. And she's like, why not? And I said, because I didn't get one. Well, you're supposed to. And I said, oh, well, can you inform the managers of that? Because they don't let me. They do not let me take a lunch break. And she just stayed quiet. And I don't even know if she ever spoke to them or not. But they still didn't give me a lunch break. So, who knows what happened there. Just like the holidays. I couldn't stand this manager. I don't even know, like, lady, you were the secretary for so long before you became the comptroller. And you don't even know what goes on. Like, she would call me also, like, say the 4th of July is Friday, right? It's on a Friday this year, I think. She'll call me Monday also, and she's like, why are you clocked in on Friday, the 4th of July? Yeah, because I worked that day. Normal hours? And I said, yeah, my schedule. I had to work that day. Well, she didn't like it because her beef is she didn't want to have to pay me double time. And I enjoyed working on those holidays because I got double time. Well, she didn't like that. For some reason, this lady wanted me to get the least possible wage and paycheck ever. I asked her for a raise twice, and she said, I'll have to look at your file. What? I've been here longer than you. I've been here several years before you came in, and you have to look at my file? Who looked at your damn file when you became comptroller? You know? But I'd be like, okay, thank you, Patty. Yeah, she never gave me the raise. So she was one of the reasons that I quit. Other than that nasty customer that came in, she was another reason that I quit. Because even though as an employee, I'm supposed to give her a heads up of when I want a vacation or a day off. Because by the way, even though hang on y'all, I'm not gonna end, but hold on. Let me take this dish out. Oh yeah. It's nice golden and crispy. Shut up the beans too. Okay, so after 5 years, you could get a 2 weeks vacation. Mr. R, who was my comptroller before, he would tell me, just give me like a couple of days at least to let me know if you want to go take the 2 weeks consecutive, so that I can get a temp to come in for you, because yeah, you know, he was really nice and chill about that. However, I never did it. I never left him like that. I always told him, no, sir, you know, like, I'll let you know when I want to come, like a weekend or something. I'll take like excuse me, I burped. I'll take like a 4-day weekend, but I won't take 2 weeks, back to back like that, unless I'm gonna go somewhere like out of town, like to a nice other state or something, which is not gonna happen because, I have 2 kids and, well, we have expenses, so that's not gonna work. And he's like, oh, okay, well, just let me know. And I'll be like, okay. I would still give him notice though. I would let him know a week in advance, like, hey, Mr. R, can I have, this coming up weekend? I'm off on this day. Do you mind if I take this other day off? Da, 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 da. And he would pay me for it. He wasn't like, oh no, if it's a holiday and you want off the next day, then you don't get paid the next day. Well, this chick, Patty, she would do that to me. So of course I couldn't take, like, those are the only times I could take off, But anyway, so I would tell her, would I be able to take the following weekend off because, I have a couple of days already and I would like to take those off. And she'd be like, you have to give me 2 weeks notice, ma'am. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And you need to get together with the other receptionist to let her know also so she can come in for those days for you. Oh, I need to do that? Not you, you're the boss, but I need to do that? Oh, okay. So of course the other receptionist would be like, oh, I can't. I have class. That was her excuse all the time. I have class. On a weekend? Well, no, I use those weekends to study. She always had freaking class and she had to study. And I completely understand because I was going to school too when I first started. However, I never got away with that. I never was able to say, well, I have class and I need to study. It would be like, do you want your job? Well, yeah. Well, then you're going to come in. Okay. That was the way I was spoken to. But because I was the main receptionist, I had to move my schedule around, not only my kids, but for this other receptionist as well. According to Patty, okay? So I would give her the 2 weeks notice anyway, because the other receptionist, when she wanted to call in sick or take off, she wouldn't give 2 weeks notice. She would just do it. And I was forced to go in or stay. So I would give her my 2 weeks notice. And then I wouldn't hear from her. So a couple of days before that weekend when I was supposed to have off, I would call Patty and I would let her know, like, Patty, the weekend's coming up where I had asked to have off. I just wanted to confirm with you. Confirm what? I didn't get anything. I said, yeah, I put in my request 2 weeks ago. I didn't get it. So you're going to have to put it in again and you're going to have to wait. I mean, talk about a real see you next Tuesday. She was like that and only with me, mind you. Nobody else, just me. Meanwhile, the other receptionist was like, oh, I feel sick. I can't go in. Oh, that's okay. So then Patty would just call me like, I'm going to need you to stay because the other receptionist is too sick to come in. Excuse me? Like, I need to go pick up my kids. And she's like, well, go ahead and go pick them up. Let the managers know and then come back. Mind you, my son, my younger son, worked way across town. And went to school way across town. And I would tell my managers, like, I need to go pick up my son. Such and such is not coming in today. She's sick and I'm gonna have to come back. And they would tell me, oh, we'll find somebody to watch the phone for you. I can't. I need to go pick up my son. You know? And plus, I need to eat something too if I'm gonna stay till 8 o'clock. I haven't had lunch. And they're like, well, ma'am, you need to find somebody to cover for you. And I'm like who? That is you all. That's up to you all to find somebody. And so they would finally get pissed at me, and they would get somebody, and they would cover for me so I can go do what I need to do and manage to eat something in between, right? But this is what I would deal with. I would deal with these kind of managers and this kind of comptroller. And this got this bad towards the end of my employment there. And it got to the point where, oh no, let me back up. There was another incident that happened when I got my hysterectomy. That was the last year that I worked there. I got my hysterectomy. I had the 2-week vacation the 2-week vacation coming up, and I told my comptroller I'm gonna have to have those 2 weeks back to back. And I said, I need the surgery. It's an emergency surgery. It's nothing that can be scheduled, you know? And that's because that's when I found out that I had the tumor. And so she's like, all right, I'll get somebody to come in then. So she got a temp, so I thought she did. And then the other receptionist had to come in her hours when it was her schedule. And so I had my surgery. I was out for 2 weeks, and then I let her know I still cannot go back. I haven't been released from my doctor, and I'm having some issues, some complications. I had no idea how severe a hysterectomy was, you all. It actually takes, if you don't know, it takes a month for you to heal. And I'm not talking about completely heal. I'm just talking about for you to actually eat whole foods again, and even to move around and walk straight up. So, and then I had the staples. I had like 25, that's when I had 25 staples. And I had to tell her all this stuff. And then she was like, well, I need that report from your doctor. All right, fine, I'll have them send it over. So they sent it over to her, and she extended my leave for another 2 weeks. And I guess one of the managers didn't get the memo. And he ended up calling me on my phone, asking me if I could go in. And I said, you do know that I just had a surgery, right? And he's like, oh, well, I thought you were supposed to be back already. And I'm like, no, I asked for an extension because I'm having complications. So he gets pissed, and he just like hangs up on me. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what, if they want to fire me, go ahead. I'm sick of this shit already. Like, are you serious? You really cannot find another temp to go in and answer the phone while I heal from this really major surgery? Did I turn off the oven? You know what, I didn't. No wonder it's still here. Hold on, y'all. Excuse me. I thought I had turned it off. All right, so anyhow, he's saying all this to me, right? That happens. It's cold and it's raining during that time too. And I'm like, oh sure, let me just put on some pants. I won't even bother putting on makeup, and I'll just go in and check into work, right? Well, it's cold and raining, while I have this big old scar on me and everything with staples. Anyhow, needless to say, they got somebody else. The other 2 weeks, went by. I went back to work. I was still walking really slow and slouched over a little bit. And I was like, well, it shouldn't be that bad. I just sit, most of the time. So I'll be there. And they made me work every other Saturday still from 8:30 to 6. No lunch break again. And I would just be sitting there. And I had to get up and move every now and then, because if not, your staples will stick together, and that really hurts. So I would be doing that. I would get up and walk for a little bit and then go back and sit down. that went on for a while until, gradually I started to feel better, and I would still get yelled at by customers, and I would let them know I just came back to work. I've been out for about a month, so I'm not familiar with who you are or what happened. I'll take a message for you. I'll see what I can tell you, what news I can give you, or have that person call you back. Because let me tell you, as a receptionist at this particular dealership, nobody called the customers back. And so the customers would just call over and over and over and just talk to me. And I could see their side, right, to a certain extent, because they're a customer. They just finance something for a huge amount of money. They want answers. They want help. However, these people that used to be at this particular dealership where I worked, they didn't give a crap. Once they sold you the vehicle, they would move on to the next customer. They didn't care what questions you had or what concerns you had. They just didn't care. The new customer was there and they were kissing their ass now. And no matter how much I would tell these customers, you could get with your salesman, or I can leave a message with your salesman so they can find out for you, because that's the procedure. That's what was supposed to happen. No, they wouldn't do that. And some of the salesmen wouldn't call them back either. Some would, but not all of them. And so I was always the messenger. I was always a translator. I was the counselor, you name it. I was everything up there. And believe you me, when you're barely healing or recovering from something and you're dealing with all that, it's a load. It's a big load on you. And so when this one customer, I'll tell you what, I'm going to skip through all my years and then I'll go back and cover, other stuff. But when this one customer called, and I believe she was a teacher at the same school that my son went to high school at, she calls and she asked for directions for the dealership. And so I said, oh yes ma'am, we're in the corner of da-da-da and da-da-da, and you go under the bridge and we'll be right there, right across the street from da-da-da. And she's like, what do you mean? I don't know where that is. And I said, okay, well, where are you coming from? And then I said, okay, well, you're going to take this road. That's the main road. You're just going to go straight. We're right straight ahead. You don't have to make any turns anywhere. And you're going to go under the expressway, under the bridge, and we're going to be at this corner right across from this. I still don't know where that is. And she hung up on me. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? I'm telling her exactly where we're at. I told her to stay on that road where she's at and just go straight. How difficult is that? You're a teacher and you cannot follow directions, So she calls back and she's like, let me talk to your manager. And I said, ma'am, I can take a message. Right now they are with a customer, because they were. And my managers at the dealership were the new car manager and the used car manager. The store manager was in between all stores, because the dealership that I worked with, they practically monopolize the entire Lower Rio Grande Valley. So then if you live here, then you know what dealership I'm talking about. But it was one of their locations, because they have several. Anyhow, so she's like, let me talk to you. I said, ma'am, they're with a customer at the moment. I could take a message for you, but ma'am, I didn't do anything wrong. I gave you the directions to come over here. You spoke to me like I was some kind of moron. And I'm like, no, ma'am, no, I did not. And she's like, yes, you did. And now you're talking back to me. And I need to talk to your manager now. And I was like, let me see what I can do. Just one moment. And so I went to one of the finance managers that was in the what they call the tower, behind the desks, and where the managers usually would be at, you know. And I was telling them what was happening, and then the store manager, you know, happened to walk in and I'll sit down, and he's there trying to work a deal. You know, he immediately gets on the computer. He's there typing away, trying to get this customer a deal, because their concern is selling. It's not giving directions or anything of that. It's selling. They're there all day, and I will say this in their defense. They are there from 8:30 till the last customer leaves, and that could be at 10, 10:30, even 11, and then do it all over again the next day. And the only time that they are closed is on a Sunday, and customers do not understand that part. Okay? So anyhow, he walks in, he sits down, he starts working this deal, and I start telling him, since he's the store manager, I start telling him, you know, this customer's on the phone, she wants to talk to you, da 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 da. You know, she says that I was rude to her, that I talked to her like she's a moron, even though I told her that we're on this corner, da da da, right across from this, yada yada. And he says to me, you would not believe what he says to me. He's like, that's your job. Do you not like your job? And I'm like, what do you mean? I did my job. I told her where we were at, but now she wants to talk to you. And he's like, can you not see that I'm busy? Take care of it. Handle it. And I said, I've handled it as best as I could. She hates my guts. She wants to talk to you. And he's like, I'm not going to talk to her. I'm in the middle of a deal. All right. So I go back out there to my desk, sit down, get back on the phone with her, and I told her, ma'am, I did relay your message. Would you like to talk to your salesman? I'm not sure what else I could do, ma'am. I let you know where we're located. If you like, I could continue to give you directions, or just take a message. I'm not, you know, like, what do I do here, you know? How can I make this person happy? And she hangs up on me again. And so, also by that point, I found out who her salesman is. And I tell the salesman, like, hey, this customer's trying to get over here. I guess I'm not explaining the directions too clearly for her, or she's just not taking my word for it. You know, you might have to call her back. I only got her phone number because it came out on the caller ID. And by that point, he already got a call from her, and she was telling him off. She was telling him that he just lost a sale because of me. Before she hung up on me the second time, by the way, now that I remember, because it was so long ago, she had said to me, I'm about to drop a whole load of money, and you just ruined it for everyone. And then she hung up on me. And then she calls him, the salesman, and she tells him the same thing, that because of me, he lost a sale. Somehow he manages to convince her to come in anyway, you know, just come in, right? And by this point, she's already calling the internet manager as well, telling him the same thing. She's making a big scandal about all this. I needed to drink some more tea. She's making a big scandal about all this. And I'm just sitting there like, what the actual hell, you know? What is happening? You know, and she comes in. She parks in the front, obviously. She comes in, and she's got like 4 kids with her, and they all look like hillbillies. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm not saying that to be racist either. I'm just describing to you what it looked like when she came in. She was wearing the t-shirt from the school that my son went to high school at, my younger son. And she had one of those Leonards, is that how you say it? With her keys hanging on there and some blue jeans. And then her 4 kids, I just remember seeing one of them with braids. They had like dirty blonde hair with braids, and it was a mess, and a cap. And I was like, what, you know? And she comes in bursting in there, by the way. Sorry for yelling. She bursts in there, and then she's like, I need the manager right now. Well, everybody in that dealership turns around and looks at her. And I was like, oh my God. And here comes the internet manager down the hall, because he heard her, right? So he's coming down the hall to my right and comes around. And then she's like, are you yada yada? And he's like, yes ma'am, how can I help you? He's trying to calm her down because he's freaking out too. This guy was shorter than I was, and he's just like, what do I do here? Oh my God, is she gonna kill me or what, you know? And I'm waiting for her to pull out a machine gun or something and just shoot everybody there, because that's how crazy and psychotic she came in. And he says, I want you to know that because of her, and she points right at me, because of her, I couldn't get here on time, and because of her, you're not going to get a sale. By this point, the customers that were in the waiting area, that were in service, they didn't even want to look back. They were like, nope, we're not making eye contact. Because I looked at them too. Because I turned away from her too, because I was like, I don't want to make eye contact with her either, you know? And we're all just like, oh my God, you know? And this lady's just raging. I mean, raging. And I'm thinking, all because I told her that we're in the corner of this street and this street? That is why she's doing this? And the internet manager's like, okay, ma'am, I'll talk to her. I will talk to her, but how can I help you? Like, can we go somewhere and talk? You want to come into my office? Because he was trying to get her away from the front, you know? And I'm just sitting there looking straight ahead, looking outside. And I hear her going on and on. She refused to go into his office in the back. She's just going on and on. Even her kids, I'm not lying when I say this. As God is my witness, even her kids are starting to freak out. And I'm like, this is too much. So I had a box across from me where I was collecting food, treats, and toys for our local animal shelter. Christmas was coming up. This was in December that this happened, by the way, in the beginning of December. Christmas was coming up. I wanted to take a collection so that I can go and give it to that shelter. And not that I collected much. Me and the other receptionists were the only ones that put stuff in there so that people can see that people are donating, you know. Well, I ended up grabbing that box and I put my stuff in there right away. I was like, excuse me. I started to put my sanitizer, my cream, my what else did I buy? The stapler, I think, because this place had never had supplies. I had to buy my own supplies just to be taken by somebody else, by the way. I got what I could that I bought in there, and I forgot my stapler removal. And now I love that stapler removal because it had a handle on it, and I paid a lot of money for it, but I forgot it. I took my Kleenex. I took everything that I bought, like I said, and I put it in that box. And I got my purse and I started walking towards the back. Well, out comes, who never comes out, by the way, the used car manager. And he's like, Moon, Moon, I'm going to call myself Moon, right? Not my real name. Moon, Moon, where are you going? Where are you going? And I said, oh, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm not even going to give you all the heads up that I'm quitting or anything. I'm just going to leave. Bye. And he was like, no, 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 no. What's happening? You know, like, what happened? What happened? You know, I don't remember if he was in there when I spoke to the other manager or not. I don't recall, since it was so long ago, but I'm going to give him the pass and say he wasn't in there at that moment. But he follows me all the way to the back door. And he's like, just calm down. Just go cool off somewhere. Go across the street to the McDonald's. Get yourself something to eat and then come back. You don't want to leave. You don't want to leave. It's going to be hard to come back. And we need you here. I'm like, the hell you do? You all don't respect me. Well, exception for you. You do. But those other managers in that office, they don't respect me. Patty doesn't respect me. The girls in service don't respect me. The customers don't respect me because they walk all over me. They yell at me. They call me names. They threaten me. And you all don't do anything to defend me. Because you all are more concerned about selling them a vehicle so that you can have your numbers than to have them respect me. So I'm nothing to you all. And that's the truth. Meantime, this lady's still yelling in the front, by the way. She's still, I don't know what she's mouthing off about, but she's still yelling. And he was like, just go and come back. And when I hear her still yelling, I was like, oh my God, she's still yelling up there? I said, no, forget it. I said, no, you all are going to sell her a vehicle to calm her self down, you know, and she's going to come back for her plates and she's going to start yelling again when they're not ready because I already know. And no, I'm not going to put up with her shit. It's not worth it anymore to me. It's not. This is where I draw the line. I'm sorry, but I'm leaving. And I left. And Patty ends up texting me. She did call me, I believe, and I didn't answer her because I was like, I'm gonna tell this bitch off. If I answer her, I'm gonna tell this bitch off. And I am gonna call her a see you next Tuesday, you know, like, no. She needs to let me calm down before I talk to her. Well, she ends up texting me, and then I just told her, you know what? I'm just so tired of getting disrespected by you and the managers there, and especially the customers. You all treat me like I'm a nobody, like I'm a freaking doormat. Like I'm just like nobody to you all. You all don't even respect me. I said, and this about me giving you notices about when I want some time off, and yet you say you didn't get them? I said, no, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I deserve better in my life. And that's all I said to her. And then she was just like, okay, well, I'm going to have to talk to da-da-da-da-da. I said, you talk to whoever you want. You talk to whoever you want. I'm no longer there. I'm no longer your concern. And I just left it at that. That was the day that I quit. Now, mind you, I went to the HEB. Like, this happened I think 2 weeks after that incident. I took my mom, and of course this is when my mom was still alive, and my mom was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get what I need, you get what you need, and da-da-da. We got separate carts. She went her way, I went my way, because that was just my mom. She liked to do that. And I was like, okay. So I was headed towards the milk, and guess who I see over there? That same customer with the same t-shirt. You know what? Fuck it. She worked at Mac High. And I think she was either a teacher or an aide or a paraprofessional. This was back in 2000, between 14 and 15. And so she just gave me this look, and I just gave her the same look back. And I was like, come at me now, bitch. You know, that kind of look. Like, tell me something, bitch. You can't get me fired here. But I can't call the cops on you here if you want to tell me something. Because believe me, that would be the ultimate revenge, is to see you taken away in cuffs for making me quit my job that day. Go for it. Well, she didn't say one word to me. She did not say one word. And it was probably not only because she was gutless, but because she has no, I don't know, no dignity. I don't know. And she didn't have her kids with her that day. So we finished our shopping. We left. And then, I don't know this for sure, you all, but I could have sworn I saw her at my church. And I kept looking at her at my church. She was like a couple of rows down from me, and this was when we had Wednesday night services back then. And I was there, and I kept looking at her, and I was just like, no way. No way she comes to my church and she behaved the way she did that day. No, that can't be her. Like, my mind is playing tricks on me, you know, like, no, Moon, you're crazy. All I can tell you all is, to this day, I don't even know for sure if that was her or not. I've never seen her again. Thank God. I think I'm over it already. I don't hold grudges, but I would like to ask her, why the hell did you do that? I feel like I need an explanation, you know? But I'm probably not going to get it. Sometimes when people treat you a certain way, and they even try to ruin your life, and you just want to know why, just tell me why. Why me that particular day? Why me now? Just tell me. I deserve that. And they won't. They feel like holding on to their reason is still a form of controlling everything, of controlling you. So the best thing you could do is be like, I'm over it. You can't hurt me anymore. And that is why I looked at her the way that I did at the store, because I wanted to let her know, you are not going to hurt me here or ever again. But you do owe me an explanation. I still want that explanation. And if I don't get it, ever, I'm still living. I'm still going on with my life. You didn't ruin anything else for me. In fact, I even went back to that dealership. The only reason I left the second time was for the same bullshit. Like, that's another story for another time, you all. But I left the second time. And I was like, this place isn't for me anymore. And I didn't regret it that time either. So, I don't even know if that lady still even works at the school, at that Mac High where my son went to school. I don't really care. I believe in karma. I believe somebody did the same thing to her. I don't believe she's living her best life, you know? But anyway, I'm so hungry. You can hear my stomach growling, I'm sure. I'm gonna have my fish and leftovers, and I'm sorry that this came out so long, but I'm also relieved that I finally got that off my chest. And we'll see what I talk about next time. If you lasted this long, thank you for listening. The patience you must have. Love you all. Enjoy your Saturday. Bye.